In this episode of the Cole Memo, I sit down with Joe Hughes. Joe and I recently became friends when we met at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois. Joe is licensed by the state of Illinois to deal deer. You heard me right. You know how some people deal cars, and you know how I talk to a lot of people on this show who deal drugs? Well, Joe is licensed by the state of Illinois to legally deal deer. What does that mean? Well, you tuned into the right episode to figure out. This is the Cole Memo. I'm your host, Cole Preston. Every episode is released in audio, video, and transcript format. To find the transcript, audio, or video version of any episode, please refer to the description of the episode that you're listening to now. Within that description, you can find a link that will take you to our website, which will display the transcript for this episode and the platforms where you can find this episode in audio or video formats. If you're unable to locate the episode description on whichever platform you're listening from, simply note the episode number and visit thecolememo.com. From there, you can find the corresponding episode, and then you'll be able to access the audio, video, or transcript version of the episode. You might also find any links that we referenced during the episode so that you might be able to do your own research. If you're not listening to this episode of the Cole Memo on Patreon, then you're listening to this episode later than our patrons. To become a patron, go to thecolememo.com/Patreon. Once again, that's thecolememo.com/Patreon. It's a great way to support our show. One of the best ways to support our show is absolutely free. Subscribe to or follow our show. Leave us a positive review from wherever you're listening to us from. Favorite this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, or post a review. Your engagement and support is appreciated. Today is 11/22/2023. That's November 22nd, 2023. We are approaching Turkey Day. Folks, it took me forever to edit this conversation. Not because it was so long or complex, but because some crazy opportunities popped up for me. I had to do a lot of traveling. I was invited to a brothel in Nevada. More on that later. We'll cover that later. We'll share you the whole trip. But this conversation was originally recorded on October 21st, 2023. So just about a month ago. And it was a really hot day. So what you'll notice is for the beginning of the episode, there's solid video of Joe and I, but at a certain point, the video cuts out. From there, you'll notice there are small video segments like when deer just randomly approach us, or there's a moment where I show you guys a video of me feeding a squirrel. There are a few different video moments throughout this podcast, but unfortunately, most of the video for this podcast was lost due to the heat in Southern Illinois. So the audio's intact. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that this was the first podcast I ever recorded outside, and it's a windy fucking day. You'll be able to tell that from the video. Fortunately, you don't hear a lot of wind, but what I think you might hear, and I wanted to candidly apologize for, is just a little bit of background noise, like the fences shifting in the wind and stuff. And I unfortunately could not find a way to get that out of the audio. I don't think it's too annoying, but I wanted to make sure to note it in case you didn't realize this podcast was recorded outside. So if you're hearing weird noises, it's not your car, it's not something in your office. It's probably the recording picking up something from this outside environment. I really enjoyed this conversation with Joe. I'd like to go back during the summer when the deer are a little bit more social. The deer approached us. I was able to touch deer, get closer to deer than I ever have in my entire life. But from what Joe is saying, and what you'll hear Joe say, is this time of year, the deer start to get a little skittish. So I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Joe Hughes, my friend, the deer dealer. Enjoy.
I bid back to this shift because I wanted it, you know. Come here, little man.
Well, Joe, we're on. Welcome to the Cole Memo. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this was super cool to walk up. I filmed some of it. Just I've never interacted with deer so casually before.
Yeah.
But before we get into this whole exciting conversation that we're about to have, how would you like to introduce yourself? How would you introduce yourself?
Well, I introduce myself. I'm Joe Hughes. I work at SIU. I am a hobby deer farmer. I raise deer I raise the females. We raise and eat and breed, and then the males we raise to sell for hunts. So, I mean, I'm just kind of hobby farmer, jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah.
Just like doing things.
Yeah.
Keep busy.
Hell yeah. Have you always been like just a farmer, like living in the country, stuff like that? Grew up this way?
No, I was born and raised in the middle of DeSoto, right across the street from the city hall. Never lived in the country.
Okay.
And my mom and dad owned their own business and traveled a lot. And so when they were out of town, I stayed with a gentleman, and he introduced me into hunting and fishing. And I've owned this place here since 2009, but I have been, once he introduced me at a young age, I was probably 9-10 years old, first time I ever went squirrel hunting.
Okay.
Didn't see a squirrel all day because he said I was too noisy. But since then I've been hooked, hunting, fishing. I've done just about everything. I've been out west. I've been down south. I've been to Africa hunting. So,
oh, nice.
I've traveled a little bit and seen the world, had a good time, and I just, one of my buddies was talking about raising deer, and I've been a deer hunter my whole life, and I thought, man, it would be nice to see some of these come from nothing. This little guy that's roaming around here.
Yeah.
To a monster. 200 incher.
Yeah.
And this year I had 2 bucks that went over 200 inches. They were both about 215 to 225.
Holy shit.
If you're a deer hunter, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's how they measure deer, is by inches. And the bigger the buck, the more impressive bragging rights you got. And that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
These deer are farm raised, so you could never go Boone and Crockett or Pope and Young, these are for wild deer.
Okay.
And basically they measure them, and you can go into record books for, one guy here in Illinois killed I'm trying to remember, it was like a 38 pointer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Bass Pro Shop paid him like $15,000-$20,000.
Oh, Jesus.
For the head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and they made him a replica, so he has a replica of his deer hanging at his house.
Uh-huh.
But they bought the original.
Wow.
I mean, so like if you kill some of these things, they dwarf those. So far, I know the biggest one I know they've killed is a 378-inch buck.
You said yours was like 250
215 to 225. So you figure my animals are like this, their animals are like this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Holy shit.
If you're not a hunter, it may not impress you much, but if you're a hunter and you see something like this coming at you in the wild,
Yeah.
I mean, it gets your blood pumping. And for me, got into this for the idea that I don't hunt anymore. You have to cull your does. Otherwise, they will breed you out of existence, kind of like rabbits.
Does cull mean like fix them?
No,
Neuter
cull
them?
means like kill them.
Oh. Okay.
You can only keep so many.
Okay, gotcha.
Then you have to take some out.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is you get too many does, you take out some of your older herd, you know, and you're bringing in new blood and buying new animals from different people to keep your genetic strain up and make your animals, I ain't gonna say more healthy, because they're, man, you look here, it doesn't look like much, but these deer, I tell everybody, they're like, they don't jump an 8-foot fence. Yes, they can jump an 8-foot fence.
That was one of my questions I was going to ask.
But you got food,
Right.
water, all the sex they want when it
Right.
comes time, and nothing's trying to eat them.
Uh-huh.
Why would they ever want to go anywhere else?
Right.
You know, now one of my buddies had a wild buck jump the fence in with his animals.
Oh, snap.
And now this has been 10, 12 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is why would you not? I mean, that wild animal wanted in with his animals to be in captivity because
Right.
now
So-
he's got all the food and everything he wants. Nothing's trying to eat him. Nothing's trying to chase him through the woods. Nobody's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
So is this guy like looking at his deer one day and he's like, what the fuck? There's one without a tag on it.
yes, basically he was. I mean, I check my herd at 4 o'clock in the morning when I get off work. I get home.
Yeah.
And if they're hungry, of course they're like little kids, man. Do you got a treat for me today? What kind of treat can I have? And they're if the food trough gets low, like I'll put 200 pounds out, and in 2 days, if it's gone or not gone, if it's low,
Mm-hmm.
they like the pellets, and there'll be a little what I call dust in the bottom, the minerals and stuff. And so rather than licking it out, they'll come to the fence and be like, hey, you know, what do you got for us tonight?
Right.
You know,
Run
they're
low.
wanting apples, or sometimes I throw them out corn. I cut up carrots. You know, they're spoiled, man. They're just like having a puppy, you know. Most of my animals I try not to get close with, because you got to understand this. I am in business just like a cattle farmer.
Right.
You know, you have your favorite cows, the ones that come up and rub on you. So you treat them not necessarily better, but they're going to be the last ones you send to slaughter.
Yeah.
And so
You have that attachment.
right. And that's like this little guy we were petting earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He will not go anywhere.
Yeah, you were saying he's going to live out his life here. Or is that...
The majority of his life.
life.
Okay, here's what happens with these animals. And their antlers get so big and get so heavy. One of my buddies had one. It had, I call it a teardrop on one side. And they had to cut it off when it was still in velvet, because the antlers get so heavy that the deer walked around like this.
Oh. Yeah.
He couldn't keep his neck straight because it was so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And when he laid down, it laid on the ground and it got infected.
Mm.
Well, that'll kill him. So he had to cut that off. And so there's, at a certain point, you either got to cut antlers off or it's time to let them go.
Yeah.
But in the wild, an average deer lives, I'll just say 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they run out of...
Man, that's a lot longer than I thought, honestly.
Yeah. No, hey, down there at SIU, they got deer probably roaming around down there on campus. It's been there, 7, 8, 10 years.
Wow.
But in the wild, an average deer, a 7-year-old, will starve to death. He won't make it through the winter. When rut hits, he starts fighting, so he's put on weight all summer. He'll start fighting, and the younger bucks will come in and beat him up, and then he's...
What's rut? Is that like their mating season?
Yes, mating season. Another couple weeks, and we wouldn't be sitting here. We would be sitting outside the pen.
Oh, because they're aggressive?
When rut hits, their hormones change. Now, this little guy here, he is going to be super dangerous in about 3 years.
Okay.
When rut hits, I will have to come in here with a baseball bat. to kind of tap him. You know, hey.
Yeah. Check him. Keep him in check.
Yeah, I'm not here to hurt you.
Right.
But people have been killed by deer. I mean, they are a wild animal. Even though I've raised him from a baby. Right. I raised him, he lived in my house for 3 months.
Bottle feeding him.
So, you know, I'm up every 4 hours feeding him. When I was at work, my wife was feeding him, you know, so it's a group effort. It doesn't just happen by yourself. So when he starts growing antlers, he will get dangerous. And anytime now, October, late October, November, December, early January is the mating season.
Mm-hmm.
And they will, when they get into that, all they're thinking about is which girl am I getting today?
Yeah.
And whose ass? Sorry, we're right over.
No, it's okay. That's cool. That's a big fucking plane.
It's flying into SIU. Oh, that's AWACS.
I was gonna say.
Oh, that's flying over the football games getting ready to start. We have a flyby today. I forgot about that. That's
okay.
AWACS getting ready to fly into SIU.
I was gonna say that doesn't look like just any other plane.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a small jet. I'm over SIU flight patterns, so I get a lot of coming into the airport and out of the airport. But anyways, yeah, that was a heck of a plane, buddy.
Yeah.
So back to the deer, they get in the rut, and all they're thinking about is the next woman in my life. Where's she coming from? And who do I got to beat up to get her?
Right.
You know, and so they get stupid. They'll run around here. You seen a dog after he's been running or whatever, he gets hot and starts panting.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they got snot running out their nose, and
wow, they're that desperate.
and they drooling and they're just looking, you know.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, rut it's getting close.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've already seen some of my bucks chasing my does, and when they pee, basically he sticks his nose up under there to smell their urine,
mm-hmm.
to see
if they're fertile
if they're in estrus, if they're getting ready to come into heat, so he can breed them.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing. I've been raising deer for 5 years now,
mm-hmm.
and I've seen them mate twice.
That seems.
That's the only time. I mean, they're private.
I was gonna say they're really private about it.
You know, and they were both during the daytime, so I can't say they don't mate during the day.
Yeah.
But
just requires a lot of focus and quiet.
Yeah, like right now, if they were in heat, if the does, if I had a couple in heat, the bucks, they might be chasing them out there behind us, but they're not going to be real happy because, like I said, you can hear the combines in the background. They're cutting beans and stuff, so they're super nervous. That is, I guess, one disadvantage for, like, being here.
Right, around farmland.
Right. Well, if, like, they're cutting beans here the other day, and my
mm-hmm.
deer are laying around because it doesn't really bother them, per se, but they don't like it because it's a strange new noise. It's like when you pulled up out here, they were all on high alert. Mm-hmm. When we walked over by the water troughs, they all ran from us. Now, for me, when I come out by myself, they don't run from me. They run to me. That's the guy with the goodies.
Right.
You're the odd man. They don't know your smell. So they run from you. Is he here to
pick one of us up?
Pick one of us up or hurt one of us,
Yeah.
We don't know that smell, so he's got to go. We got to go. And like I said before, you get out here and a bird will be sitting up here and fly down and spook them, and they just run like idiots. You just never know. you got to watch yourself at all times around these animals. I mean, they're tame to a certain extent,
Right. They're not like fucking.
but they're not dogs. They're not
Yeah.
cats. They're not pets. And if you ever forget that,
they'll remind you.
they will remind you, and you will get hurt, and it may cost you your life. So, in the springtime when I'm having babies, I tell friends, hey, bring your kids out, whatever. And I've had a couple people, hey, can I bring my kids out? Yeah, next spring.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to bring them out next weekend. No, not this time of year.
Yeah, not this time of year.
No kids allowed. I don't even want your wife out here if she's on her menstrual cycle or getting ready to come on it. It sounds weird, but they pick up on that. And they will, back during COVID, I caught COVID, was down in bed, couldn't get up, called one of my buddies. He helps me out here do just about everything.
Yeah.
When I'm moving deer or whatever, he comes and helps me. Hey, man, I'm in bed dying of COVID. I can't move. Can you come feed the deer for me?
Mm-hmm.
He came out here, and one of my big bucks that tried to get him.
Shit.
Yeah. Now, this was, I don't know, November, December, so they're in the middle of rut.
Right.
And he's carrying a bag of food, and he just got that sense, and he turned around and looked, and the buck had
Charging
his head
him?
down.
Wow.
Wasn't running at him, but was coming at him pretty steady.
Uh-huh.
And my buddy chucked the food off the ground and pulled out his knife. And he's like, I didn't know how I was going to tell you I killed your 200 plus inch buck, but I killed him. I was like, hey, your life is more important
Yeah.
than, don't get me wrong, they represent money, okay?
Sure.
But your life represents more than that. That's why I tell people you have to, in the wild, like here lately, I've been watching some stuff like these tourists out in Yellowstone,
Yeah.
changing gears just another minute.
Yeah.
Out there, wild bison, elk, moose, bear. You walk up to, do you not understand half of these things you're walking up to can kill you and eat you?
Dude. Moose. I've seen him taking pictures of moose.
Yeah, and you are crazy. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. You do not understand
Right.
the tremendous danger that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you ever watch any YouTube videos where the deer is standing on his back foot beating the crap out of a hunter, that's because the guy's put dough and heat on him.
Interesting.
Yeah, people do some crazy things in this world, brother. We're not all, top of the food chain.
Yeah. But do hunters put that on them to try to attract to
Yes.
hunt?
Sometimes you accidentally spill a little on you or whatever.
Sure.
But generally, like when you're going into your stand,
Mm-hmm.
they got what they call a drag. It's just I ain't gonna say a sponge, but like a piece of cloth, and you put the dough and heat on that sponge or cloth, and then you tie it around your ankle or to your boot or whatever, and then as you're walking
Gotcha.
to your stand, that drags their dough and heat
Uh-huh.
urine smell to your stand. So now just say you've walked a half a mile into your stand, then you put that on. Now this buck is a quarter mile away and you're never going to see him,
Right.
but he's come across that path of that doe
And comes to you.
and now he's like, oh, there's a doe in heat. I want her. I got to go find out who I got to beat up to get her. And so he's coming to you. Well, if you're the guy that happened to spilt some on you or had some, for some reason put it on your boots or on your clothes, now you're walking into the woods and this deer's come across it. You ain't made it to your stand yet. Now he comes and sees you and he's thinking, this guy has got my woman. All he knows is his hormones are in overdrive.
Right.
And he wants to beat the shit out of you to prove that he gets the woman. And he thinks if he beats you up, she's magically going to appear. I mean, that's
Yeah.
nature, instinct, man. So you just gotta, kind of watch what you're doing when you're out in nature. Nature is
Treat them with the respect they deserve.
Deserves, right?
Yeah.
Or you end up bear poop.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. When you're out hiking, like you see these videos that people are up out in California hiking in the mountains.
Yeah.
Bobcat,
Oh
cougar
my gosh!
comes.
I just watched a video like that the other day.
Right. I've seen a few of those. And now these people are out in nature doing their thing. And it ain't like these morons up in Yellowstone who ran up next to the moose or the bear.
Got out of their car.
Yeah. They were out hiking and run across this. Handle it the best way you know how.
Right.
I feel sorry for your family when these people out in Yellowstone, and I say that's because that's the one I've been seeing the most here lately.
Yeah.
About all these people, they think it's great, and they don't know. They've lived in the city their whole life and have no clue what they're doing can get them killed.
Yeah. Seriously mangled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's that's the best.
Death is the
case
ultimate
scenario.
end.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But you can go anywhere from getting a hangnail running from these guys to getting lungs punctured, being on the ground, breaking bones. I mean, they are powerful animals, especially bison. I mean, if you've ever watched a rodeo and seen the rodeo clowns or the bull riders, when they get chucked, okay, these bulls are 2,000 pounds.
Right.
What do you think that bison is? He's 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And he ain't seen people. Ain't been around people like this bull has. So you get in his space, he don't know whether you're the guy that's trying to eat him or take a picture.
Right.
I want the selfie. Eat. Oh, I thought you was here to eat me.
Boom.
Bang.
Yeah.
They run you over.
Yeah.
So, just life in general, man. You can die walking across the street. So nature is a fickle animal. If you respect her, she will respect you. But the second you don't respect nature, it will jump up and get you.
Yeah, nature is humbling in many ways,
Yes.
in that, in this world. And look, I get the idea of trying to help each other out and give. That's a great thing about society. But nature, when you go into nature, you're reminded that nobody gives a fuck. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck. You're not gonna get a hand out, a helping hand. You are by yourself.
Nature is survival of the strongest.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and all these animals out there in the wild, that's how they've been living all their life.
Yeah.
The strong survive and the weak get eaten.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's crazy. It's easy to forget because we'll sleep in a nice bed every night, but they sleep out fucking side.
Yes.
Every night, and they get woken up to, is something about to kill me? That's.
Yeah, they go from 0 to 100 in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I mean it's kind of crazy how that stuff works in in the wild. I mean, it's like you said, for us, like when I went hunting in Africa. There's so many things over there that wanted to kill me, but I'm sleeping inside of a nice warm house and a bed. You don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, we got out the next day. I woke up one day. We went out hunting, and our guide stops and says, "Oh man, look at that! There's a path across the road. It had rained the night before. Just
Oh shit.
Yeah. Now we're out there walking in weeds up to our waist, our belly button, with the most deadliest snake in the world. We just seen his track, so we know he's here.
Yeah.
But I'm out there walking in the weeds with him, and he bites you, you're dead.
Damn.
The closest town we were to was about 45 minutes, an hour away.
Roughly where were you? Do you recall?
We flew into Johannesburg, and we were about 4 hours north of Johannesburg, northwest of Johannesburg, and I do not remember the name of the town. I was hunting wild wildebeest safaris, and they got their own compounds and stuff, and so I was just watching the bee land on you. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
we were out there in their basically neighborhood. So, I mean, they owned, how much shit was it? Like 500,000 acres or something. I mean, some ungodly amount of property, you know. So it was, he's on your neck.
Yeah, he wants me.
Yeah.
Still on my neck?
No, he flew away.
Okay, cool.
He wants what you're smoking, brother.
I know. I was thinking he's smelling the flowers. Anyways.
Trying to pollinate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But so, I got a small herd of deer here, and I'm a rambler, man. I go from A to B to Z to Q. You know.
No, this is perfect. This is perfect. So, so I only ask. I'm just curious. That's interesting to hear that you've like done like wild game hunting in Africa. That's super fucking cool.
Been elk hunting out in Colorado. I mean, my thing is like here. I said you got to cull the herd once in a while.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, when you get ready to kill one, I'll buy it from you. Well, for me, I'm not trying to make money.
Yeah.
Like I gotta cull these animals because, like right now, they're eating about 100, between 80 and 100 pounds a day. But they're in rut. It's getting close to winter time. So they're trying to put on weight,
right,
to be healthy through the winter. And so when I get too many does, I just kill them. And then oh, there he comes back. He's probably flying up to Edwards. He's a little higher this time. They have
you're talking about culling them and just that.
To raise deer,
Right.
people are like, oh, I'll pick a wild, and I have got this year not so many. Last year I probably had 10 people. Hey, I got a wild deer. I found a baby. Can you take it? It's a hard no.
Okay.
I have what they call a premise ID number. I'm registered with the Department of Agriculture through the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
I am in it's a voluntary program. But to buy and sell deer, you have to be in the program.
Yeah, and how did you? I was going to ask you that. How did you get in the program? You said voluntary, so obviously you volunteer.
Well, whoever you start buying deer from should be in the program.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, you set up, you build your fence, you build your pens, and then you start buying deer.
Yeah.
They're going to talk to you about the Department of Agriculture and who to get a hold of. And
it's the Illinois Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, Illinois Department of Agriculture.
Gotcha.
And so they're going to hook you up. Unless they're just trying to screw you, which my thing is these guys, we're just like the good old boys, anytime I call any of my buddies, hey man, I got this going on. Have you had this problem? What are you doing? We're just like farmers, the farmers talk, we talk. So they'll give you phone numbers, emails, and then basically you contact these people, say, hey, I bought these deer from, just say the guy that got me into it was Travis Flat.
Yeah.
So I got my deer from Travis Flat. When I call to buy them, he calls the Department of Agriculture, or I say call it, emails. Says, I have sold Joe Hughes 5 deer. These are their ID numbers, which was that little metal tag, and their second ID tag, which is the big green one, like Schneider. I had his name on there just because I raised him. The rest of them I just give numbers to. Unless you're, I know I'm going to keep him, so
Sure.
I name him. He's more like a pet than wildlife. But so he gives them the tag numbers and how many I bought and what date we want to move them. Emails it to the Department of Agriculture. Department of Agriculture sends it back to him with an approval number.
Right.
And he writes me a receipt, just like you were buying something at the grocery store. He writes your receipt out. It's got your approval number. It's got all your animals on it. And then you get, you can only move them like, it used to be a 3-day window. I think now they give us 7.
Okay.
That you can move them in that time. And you just go pick them up, dart them, bring them here, and then let them loose on your property. And you have to have, for me, when I sell one or cull one, like one of my buddies wants a deer, I said, not a problem. I need your name, your address, your full address, your full name, and a phone number. And I emailed the Department of Agriculture. I'm going to call Yellow 7 and write the ID number down, the ID tag number down, email it to them. I'm going to call this animal. I've sold this animal to X, Y, or Z, whoever I sold it to.
Is it like a general ag email, or is it like the deer division?
No, it's I don't want to give it out because I don't want to flood their.
Oh no, yeah, I don't mean, but I mean.
Yes, no, this is a specific person.
Okay.
In the Department of Agriculture. Now you can call Department of Agriculture and say, hey, I want to get into raising deer.
Sure.
And they're gonna fire you off an email.
Right.
Telling you what you need. For me, I have. I bought these animals from one of my buddies, and he had what they call a premise ID number.
Yeah.
Because he's been in the business for 15, 20 years. So once he gets his premise ID, I have bought animals from him. So now I send all my information in, get all my ducks in a row, and then I get the premise ID number from, they grandfather me in to his premise ID, and then I get my own ID number, but I am allowed now to move deer. If you don't have, if you're buying from somebody they don't know,
right,
you have to be in the program for 3 years before you're allowed to sell anything. Basically, they want to make sure that you don't have any diseases or anything like that. That's why you have to register. That's why they call it voluntary. You don't have to be in it. And if somebody wants to buy your animals, I guess you could go that route. I am not really that guy. I try to do things by the book.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to get in trouble, you know. And then I got a lot of money invested here. So.
Well, I can only imagine. So that's one of the things that I think some people might not get about this that I thought was interesting. And maybe it's an interesting place to transition to. When people buy these deer, correct me if I'm wrong, is my memory correct? There is no consuming these deer, right?
The does.
The doe.
Yes, the does. Yes and no. You're on a slippery slope here. My does are edible, 100%.
Okay.
Because I know it sounds brutal, but I come out here, I'm gonna cull this deer. I'm gonna kill this doe because she's old. She's getting kind of, crippled up. She's got arthritis, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kill her and I'm gonna eat her. So I go out there and I shoot her. I kind of separate her from the herd.
Yeah.
And then I shoot her, kill her. She's had nothing but no hormones, no chemicals of anything. I don't give them anything. she's better than eating a deer out of the wild because I know what she's been eating.
Right.
You know, she's going to be nice, fat, you know, meat's going to be good, and I eat her. Now, when I sell these bucks, I use a drug called BAM. It's a controlled drug. I have to get a prescription from the vet
Right.
to get this. So I get the BAM.
Camera's overheated.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, but I get the BAM.
It's all good though. It's a good audio interview. So
I got you. I get the BAM. I load up a dart. I bring my dart gun out here. I shoot the deer. He goes to sleep. I load him up on the trailer. I give him a reversal to wake him up. He wakes up. That guy now owns him. It's his deer. Now, the drug has a 30-day half-life is what they tell me. And I've read a little bit about it. But for 30 days, I guess if you want to take the chance and eat it, you can. But I, myself, would never eat one of these deer unless it's been over 30 days.
yeah, because you could get a secondhand tranquilization, right?
Right. Yeah. Basically, next thing you know, you're eating, and you can't breathe. Your esophagus quits working, or your stomach, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Or you just go down.
Yeah. And now these drugs do wear off. You know, they have reversals and stuff to help wake them up. But
Kind of like a Narcan for BAM.
yeah.
I don't mean to sound insensitive.
No.
but, You know.
Hey, buddy, I'm one of the most real people you're ever going to meet. And I some people say I'm heartless and cruel, but in the real world, it is what it is. I mean, it's survival of the fittest. And I'm going to tell you right now, if it ever went crazy, I don't think I'd be here very long, because I know there's a lot more people out there that's a lot more,
Yeah.
you know, survival than me. But as long as they stay in their part of the world and I stay in mine, I think I got a good chance of surviving for a while.
Hell yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, the deer, you can eat them. I just prefer not to.
Sure.
And I would not recommend anybody eating these bucks for 30 days.
Yeah.
And basically, the guy he has property. They turn them loose, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're hunting on a fenced in." So, and they call it high fence hunting. Well, that's not very sporting. They can't get away. Okay, this guy paid $20,000 for an animal one year and couldn't find it for 2 weeks. He's only got 100 acres. He couldn't find it for 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
Don't tell me they can't hide.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
So yeah, what does the typical like purchaser look like? I know it's probably different from case to case, but is it generally like a sportsman like that where they'll purchase it and let it loose?
I send pictures
Uh-huh.
to my buyer.
Yeah.
He puts those pictures on his website. And then you go on his website and he's got 30 deer there.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
you're looking for cars.
Yeah, kind of like looking for cars. He's got 30 deer there. And they say, "Man, I really like this one." And he's like, "Well, to kill that deer is X amount of dollars, whatever he sets as a price. Just say it's $10,000 is what I want for that deer, or a deer comparable to that size." Well, I really like that one. Well, it's a guaranteed that you're going to get to see them. It's not a guaranteed you're going to get to see that specific deer and shoot that specific deer, because they are wild animals. It ain't like we take the lead off of them like you would a horse and smack them on the ass and say, "Run right out there so he can shoot you."
Yeah.
They're wild animals.
Right.
And when they get out there in the wild, you know, because, I mean, it's 100 acres. Here I've only got 5, but I got a small farm.
Yeah.
Okay. Other guys have 80, 100 acres, 50 acres, you know, all different size farms to raise them. And so you don't know what you're going to get. Hopefully we're going to get you that exact animal. I say we, because I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Once it leaves my property, I am no longer in this equation.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully you get that specific animal you want. But when you've got 10 bucks running around on the property, you may not see that one. And so if he asks, hey, do you want to shoot, do you want that specific deer? Well, we may have to hunt for a week to find it.
Right. If you want that specific tag.
That specific deer. We may not see him. Now, if you want something comparable to that size deer, we may see 3 of them today.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at them. If you decide you want one of them, you shoot one of them. If not, we continue hunting
And you're just going to have to wait it out.
until we find that one deer that you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hunting in the wild.
Yeah.
That's why people put up trail cameras,
Mm-hmm.
so they see what deer's coming through. So just say when rut hits, all that trail camera business goes out the window. I don't care what anybody says. They're like, oh yeah, no, he's been coming by every Tuesday at 5 p.m.
All their habits go out the window is what
Yes,
you're saying? They're
everything goes out the window because now he may have come by every Tuesday at 5 p.m. and stood 10 yards from your deer stand, and you could have shot him 30 days in a row.
Right.
Rut hit, he's into breeding mode, and there ain't been a doe on your property by your deer stand
Right. So he's going.
for 3 months. So you ain't gonna see him ever. He is gonna be on the other side of the world chasing her.
Right.
So, that's why I say people, well, it's high fence hunting and, it's not really hunting. Yes, you have a better chance. Unless you can't shoot, I am going to say you're guaranteed an animal.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no guarantee when you're hunting. Because if you get out there and you can't shoot him,
Yeah.
So,
if I'm misunderstanding, is this like let's say I'm looking at this website and I find a deer.
Yeah.
Do I do I have the opportunity to go with and shoot that deer is what you're saying, or do they do that, or what? How does this
no, you hunt it. They have deer
Okay.
stands.
So I go to their land and I'm able to.
You're like a couple guys that just came in. I mean, these people from all over the world come in and hunt. But there was 2 guys, one from Wyoming and one from Utah, came in and
I didn't get that. Could you try?
Siri, she's
Yeah.
great. These guys come in.
Mhm.
They've looked at the website and they've seen pictures of animals.
Right.
But now these animals may already be dead. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not necessarily picking that exact animal. They're looking at animals that have been there, and they're watching videos of animals that have been taken from there. So you get there, you're not getting a specific animal.
Yeah, it's just the idea that you're like, oh shit, this one's out there roaming around.
Right.
Maybe
yeah,
we get
these
that one.
animals are on this property,
Right.
and I have an opportunity, if my pocketbook is deep enough,
Uh-huh.
to shoot one of those.
Yeah.
Or if not, I can shoot one of these. Because there's different sized deer, and he may have deer from 160 inches all the way up to 500 inches. And people are in what average deer hunters, there is no such thing as a 500-inch whitetail. There is,
Yeah.
but not very often.
Mm-hmm.
And so these guys, they raise them. Like for me, and this is the part that as a hunter, I find kind of not, I don't know. I don't hunt this kind of game just because if I want a 200-inch deer, all I gotta do is wait for one of them to grow. So I go kill it and put it on the wall.
Right.
If I want a 400-inch deer, I have to wait for it to grow. just say on average, it takes me 2.5 years to grow a 200-inch whitetail. In the wild, it will take 5 to 7 years if you can get one that big. Their genetics, here's what happens. Wild deer, the hunters go out, they see a 160-inch, 180-inch buck, and that's a monster in the wild.
Right.
So they kill him. Now his genetics don't get passed on.
Mm-hmm.
So here, the daddy of all these that I've got were, he was a 220-inch 2-year-old. So I got his genetics. Now, I got some genetics from famous deer. I mean, they, like great-great-grandchildren of, like one buck, Firecracker was his name.
Okay.
He was a monster breeder buck. Well, my buddy ended up buying a doe, which was, like, just say his 3 or 4 or 5 generations removed from him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still got his genetics in it. So his genetics are now in my herd.
Very cool.
So my genetics are down here. Okay, the guys, they're on the lower part of the scale. Now I got guys that I can buy from. It takes me 2 years to raise a 200-inch deer. They're getting, like, newborns that I showed you that just had the buttons on their heads.
Yeah.
They're getting yearlings that have racks. That's how good their genetics
Wow.
are. And at a year and a half old, they're a 160-inch buck.
Yeah.
And at 2.5 years old, they're going to be a 250-inch buck, just somewhere between 2 and 250.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how much better their genetics are than mine.
That's crazy to hear.
Yes, and the name of the game is try to get the best genetics you can afford.
Sure.
One of my buddies, the guy that got me into it, he does AI, artificial insemination, when he was in. And he was buying straws of semen from anywhere from $500 a straw to $10,000 a straw
Damn.
for semen.
Just come frozen? Something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah.
Liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
And then he had his own liquid nitrogen tank. I mean, that's how big he was into it.
Wow.
And that's a whole nother process, He had a dark barn, basically with pins and chutes. You run them through, and the deer run in, and then you don't dart them. You stick them with a needle.
Okay.
You're handling them live,
Uh-huh.
and you stick them with a needle and give them a knockout drug, and then release them, and then they run out. And then you're just like vaccinating cattle. You're running them through a chute.
Uh-huh.
And that's what you do with the deer. And then next thing you know, we've got 10 does laying out there sleeping. So now you got to go, I'm going to pick up 47 is getting semen from Firecracker. 52 is getting semen from Big John.
Uh-huh.
And so you're putting certain semen into certain animals. It's all genetic.
Yeah.
It's all about the genetics. You're wanting the best genetics you can get.
And so you'll write down like Big John crossed with whatever that doe is.
Yeah, just say this doe is a Firecracker and Goliath.
Uh-huh.
Them were her mother and father.
Okay.
Were Firecracker and Goliath.
Uh-huh.
So now you're crossing Firecracker, Goliath, her doe, or their doe, with Big John's doe.
Mm-hmm.
Or with Big John's semen. And you try not to interbreed. Like you would not want to, Firecracker, you would not want to use his semen or let him breed his daughter
Okay.
or his mother.
Sure.
You don't, then you get inbreeding.
Right. And you can have weak genetics.
Right. It can break the genetic chain, or you can get a monster and you're a genius.
Yeah, a mutant.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying most people are, it's just like everything else. You just gotta kind of know what you're doing. I do not AI any animals. I am not big enough for that. My buddy was, he had like 50 acres. His setup, my setup here, I'm just say $50,000 setup. His setup was $250,000 setup.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
that he can do the AI and everything.
yeah. I mean, hell, he spent $50,000 on a barn and building chutes and all that stuff to run the animals in to, like cattle chute.
Yeah.
To do that, where I'm not there yet, and I don't think I will ever be there. I am not. I don't see myself going that direction.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people do. Another one of my buddies, Grant, he is still raising deer, but he's kind of branched off from raising bucks to sell to collecting doe urine. And I wished I knew his name because I'd give him a plug of his doe pee, but it's out of Heron, Illinois. Is the doe urine. He sells it online. So
it's funny, this conversation we're having reminds me a lot of so I've interviewed a lot of people from the cannabis industry and how they talk about genetics and the genetics they acquire. And like you say, you could get the genetics that a lot of people recommend. It's the same thing you just said. Get the genetics you can afford. Don't bankrupt yourself on getting
right. And then it fails, and then next thing you know, you're out.
Yeah.
For me, this is my second herd of deer. My first herd, and people think I'm heartless and ruthless. I'm an animal lover. I've got cats, dogs, all that. But I had two dogs that came up here and killed my first herd of deer.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this at SIU. Yeah, tell the story.
Yeah, I basically I had deer that were dead for no reason. I couldn't figure out why. And so I started catching a couple dogs, and I thought they were coyotes, but it was a beagle and a chow. And basically they were out here running my deer to death, and the deer will take off and run until they can't run no more, and they'll fall over dead, just kind of like a horse.
Wow.
Or they'll lock up and they'll run and they won't stop. I had, it killed one deer about 50 yards outside the fence. They blew straight through a fence. This fence is supposed to be deer proof. They can't go through it, but they did.
Yeah.
They were at a dead run, running as far, as fast, and as hard as they can. The first deer made it about 15 yards outside the pen and was dead. The second deer made it about 50 yards outside the pen and died from all the internal injuries it suffered going through the fence.
Right.
Another one ended up 200 yards out in the field with a broken leg and died a couple hours later from internal injuries. But it's out there running around on two back legs and one broken front leg, and the other front leg was broken, and she was trying to hobble on it. I ended up having to kill her. I mean, there was nothing I could do for her.
Sure. Put her out of her misery.
Then the rest of the herd that was following them were gone. Now I've lost $30,000 worth of deer that are gone, dead. Well, I killed both of these dogs. And the people who owned them, they live about 2.5 miles away. Now they want to sue me.
Oh, shit.
For killing their dogs. I said, please, 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 I'm begging you, please take me to court and sue me for killing your animals. Basically, nobody wanted to help me because I'm a dog killer. So I called the Jackson County Animal Control, and I was told the animal control gentleman had retired, so we were in between. So I talked to the Jackson County board. The president of the board told me, "You killed these people's animal. You're probably going to have to pay them. You're going to owe them a bunch of money for killing their animals." I said, "You don't understand. They cost me, in the long run, in short term, they cost me about $30,000. In the
Yeah.
long term, they cost me probably $150,000.
Right.
Because you don't know what I lost like 10 or 12 deer that year due to these dogs. You don't know what their babies would have turned into
Sure.
money-wise.
Right.
So I was behind the 8 ball. I had to start all over again with my second herd. But after I said that, then, that I wanted to sue them because their dogs killed my animals, it was radio silence. I couldn't get a phone call. It was right at the beginning of COVID. I couldn't go to the courthouse. Nobody would see me.
Sure.
Nobody wants to talk to me. I'm the bad guy because I killed their dogs. And the cops wouldn't even come take my statement. They went to their house. They came here and got their dog that I killed that was still on my property. And the other dog, the chow, I shot it. It ran 2.5 miles home before it died.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry because that was somebody's pet,
Sure.
okay? But it's just like killing a coyote or a fox. Not foxes, I'm sorry. Foxes I don't have any problems with out here. Coyotes, if we had cougars, mountain lions, depending on what area.
Yeah.
If they were here killing my animals, I would be killing them.
Right.
It's just like the cattle farmer out in Wyoming. He's killing coyotes, cougars, bears, whatever they got out there that eats their animals.
Right.
You have a right to protect your animals.
Right.
And I couldn't make anybody understand that because I killed somebody's pet.
Yeah.
And it was kind of frustrating, but my thing was that I tried to explain it to these people. I have no ill will towards them people. How do you turn your animals out 2.5 miles away and let them come, and it's my fault that I killed them on my property?
Yeah. Well, what if that was a kid, for example, instead of a deer?
Right. What would have happened if they...
I
My
can
mom
tell
and
you what
dad-
would have happened if it was a kid. They
Yeah.
would have killed those dogs.
Yeah, they would have... The animal control would have come,
That's what
took
I mean
those
to say.
dogs and killed them.
That's what I mean to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But since they were killing my livestock, I didn't have no say in it. So it's just kind of a screwed up deal. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, such is life. I tell the story, but I don't harp on it.
Sure.
You know,
Can't
it
get
doesn't
too stuck
drive
in it.
my life.
yeah.
My dog, I have a Catahoula cur and mini pit mix. Looks like an Australian Shepherd. This little one, Schneider, was raised in the house with her. So they play together. They run together. They have a
Yeah.
good time. She gets out here and starts running. Well, she will chase these deer to death because my deer will run from her because they think she's a predator. So she gets out in the pen sometimes. I try not to let her in. She gets out in the pen, and him and her run and play. Schneider and my dog run and play, have a good time, and the other deer start running. Well, she runs after him, and then I yell at her, and she comes back, and she's looking at me like, "But Dad, I just want to play with the rest of the kids on the block, you know?"
Right.
And I got to get her out of the pen. But her and Schneider, she runs after him, and he takes off running, and then stops and comes back and runs at her, and she takes off running. They're just so. But with deer, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, with the dogs. My buddy, he had dogs, German Shepherds and Labs. They didn't care about the deer. They never even looked at them.
Yeah.
But they were raised around them. They brought them as puppies, had them. It's just another part of life. You see them every day. For me, coming out here, seeing deer, petting them, touching them, taking care of them, it's just another day in the world,
Yeah.
People want to come see them. I can't tell you how many times I've heard brakes squealing on the road because my deer are up by the fence, by the highway,
Right.
and somebody is rubbernecking, and somebody else comes up behind them and has to lock up their brakes to keep from rear-ending them. I mean, hey, I understand.
Yeah.
You cannot see deer like this every day in the wild. So I get a lot of people that come by just to see the animals.
Yeah.
I have no trespassing and all that because I don't want people on my property, because you don't know if somebody gets hurt, then you're liable for it.
Right.
And my thing is I had 2 women from Chicago going to school at SIU. The one lady was carrying a newborn, probably say 3-4 weeks old.
Yeah.
Now this has been a few years ago, but the newborn, 3-4 weeks old, 2-3-year-old toddler. One of my friends calls me, "Hey man, are you down in your pen?" "No." "Well, there's some people out there." "No way." "Well, I'm at the house." So I look out, there's a car down here. So I drive from my house down here to the gate, and these people had opened up my gate, left the gate open, and were inside with my deer.
Wow.
They don't know me, I don't know them.
Yeah. Damn.
And instantly I am upset, and I come down
Sure.
here hot.
Sure.
"Hey, what are you doing?"
Right.
Well, we go to SIU, we see deer on campus. We've never seen anybody have them in a pen like this, so we wanted to come see them. Okay, there's no trespassing. I was upset
Sure.
till I realized what they were here for, what they were doing.
Right.
Then I'm like, "Hey, you can't just come on my property." I give them my phone number. Said it. This is how upset I was. I give them my phone number. Said, "Hey, if you want to bring the kids back, you want to see the animals, you want to feed them some carrots, some apples, got to call me first.
Yeah.
You can't just come on my property."
Sure.
And they were very understanding about it. And then they ended up leaving. That we visited 20, 30 minutes. They got to look at the deer. But for these people, like I said, they grew up in the city. They don't think nothing. You're walking down the street, you see something, you just walk in somebody's yard, you don't think nothing about it,
Yeah.
Well, out here in the country, that's a good way to get hurt.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
And I'm not necessarily talking about from me.
Sure.
I'm talking about you could walk out here and maybe I got a pitchfork laying on the ground
Yeah.
that I forgot to pick up, and you step on it and run a pitchfork through your foot. Now I'm liable because you were trespassing on my property. So just use a little common sense. If you see something, you want to look at some deer, you want to come on my property, be respectful, knock on my door at least.
Yeah.
Come ask.
Yeah.
Like right now, yeah, I will. Anybody can stop, ask me, I will come out, and I'll cut up some carrots, some apples, I'll throw out some corn so they'll come. But right now they're getting ready to go into rut. This is not a good time.
Yeah.
Like if you'd have been here a month ago, I guarantee you these deer would have been right up behind us saying, "Wait, what are you guys doing? You got any treats for us?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're getting ready to go into rut. We've already been out here handling them in the last month, moving some deer around and stuff. So now they're a little skittish. So they're out chilling. And
Yeah.
let's stay away from these guys. They might be coming to do something to us. So you never know.
Yeah. What's like the geneticist like? So I was thinking that, yeah, again, the genetics sound a lot similar to other people I've interviewed, but like you mentioned some of these like deer that it sounds like would be well known.
Right.
Amongst...
Yes. These you can go on websites and look. Now these deer are dead and gone. These are 8-10-year-old deer
okay.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But they have more than 2. But we have 2 auctions in our area. And when I say in our area, I'm talking about between Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana. They have 2 auctions a year.
Yeah.
That the breeders bring either their deer or pictures of their deer, and you buy them. You bid on them for breeding or whatever purposes. I am not big on the genetics.
Yeah.
I do not keep track. Like my buddy, he can tell you all the animals I got from him. He can tell me. I call him, and he can go back and flip through his book. Yellow 7 was bred. She came out of Green 19 and Big Red.
Uh-huh.
And they came from this one and that one. He has their genetics going back 5 generations.
Interesting.
Okay, I am not that guy,
Yeah.
but a lot of guys have this. You know, they keep them records because just say you have, like me, Pink 71 this year. Next year, just say Pink 71 turns into a monster deer. So he's got good genetics. So now we want to keep him and breed with him.
Right.
But I need to know, like, I can go in and I look at my papers and say, Pink 71 came out of Green 9.
Mm-hmm.
So now any does that came from Green 9, like just say Pink 71, she had twins. She had Pink 71 was a boy and Pink 51, which is a girl. So now I can breed 71. Next year he blows up to be a 200-inch, year-and-a-half-old. That's good genetics. You want to keep him to breed with him.
Right.
So now I got to move yellow or Green 9 and Pink 51 out of his pen because I don't want him to breed his mother or his sister.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Cousins you're getting in kind of a gray area. Cousins are okay. I mean, it's back to the genetics. You don't want to start breeding brothers and sisters because then you get crazy things happening.
Somebody down south is taking this podcast now, and they're like saying, "See, this guy said cousins are okay."
Yes, yeah.
I'm just joking.
You're killing me, brother. I love it, Cole. Yes, cousins are okay. Just got to be distant cousins, not
Right.
first cousins. You know,
Right.
like 5th or 8th cousins. You didn't know they were cousins.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they just basically. Another thing is, a lot of people say, "How did you get these deer?" You know,
Yeah.
it's wrong to have these deer. You shouldn't have them. Well, U of I started this program back in the 60s or 70s when the deer population was super low.
Okay.
And they started breeding, crossbreeding, doing genetic testing,
Yeah.
seeing, you know, basically they were studying the deer.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up with so many animals, and the program was winding down, that they didn't know what to do with them. You can't turn them loose because you turn one of these deer loose in the wild, and they're going to walk right up to you in a deer stand, you know. And if they're friendly enough, like my little guy,
Yeah.
he's going to walk right up, and you're going to freak out and shoot him because you know, you're thinking, man, this deer's crazy.
Rabbit
He's got
or something.
mad cow disease or something. You know,
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. So they couldn't release them, so they started selling them into the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
And this all has snowballed since then. You know, Illinois wasn't the first state to come up with this. So, but they breed to get the genetics,
Mm-hmm.
and they know what genetics, you know, or what deer are producing good. So they try to not necessarily interbreed them, but like if you got just say Firecracker and Goliath, these two big bucks producing good offspring, so you try to keep their does and breed them to each, you know, like the does out of Goliath, you try to breed them with Firecracker,
Yeah.
you know, or to his offsprings to keep the genetic lines, you know, so that they're good genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that's what we're doing. That's how we end up. You hear that? That.
Yeah.
That's my deer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They, I don't know. Are they coming this way? Can you? Okay.
There's a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of grunt, moan a little bit to communicate with each other.
Interesting.
And like if the babies will talk to mama. They'll grunt, moan
Mm-hmm.
to, "Hey, baby girl." That's Yellow 7. She will not let me touch her, but she will come
Close?
I mean, she touches my hand with her nose, but I can't pet her.
Mm.
She's never been bottle fed. She's going on around. She ain't have nothing to do with us. Yeah.
That's adorable. It's really interesting to hear about the geneticists. So it sounds like you don't really maybe keep track as much, but there are like
I
the
do not.
Coca-Cola of deer genetics, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. There are the designer bucks, basically. You know, you got the Gucci, you got the name brands, and I have some of their genetics,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't. Every year, there's something bigger and better, So I do not keep up on it.
Yeah. Again, that sounds just like cannabis genetics. Every
Right.
year there's something bigger and better.
Right. Well,
It's probably the same with corn and any other
Yes,
commodity, right?
yes, it's like buy what you can afford, and I have bought what I can afford.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting story. One of my buddies went over to Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
bought a breeder buck to bring home to breed to his does. Paid $20,000 for this buck. They dart it, knock it down, load it on a trailer, give it to reversal. When it wakes up on the trailer, you owe me $20,000. They write him a check. You drive home. The deer wakes up on the trailer. They close it all up, drive away. They get home. You don't just open the door and look in, because you'll spook him, and he can, a lot of crazy things can happen. You can get run over, he can run out, break a leg, whatever. So you open the door and you just swing it open, or stand behind it and open it up and let them come out at their own pace.
Mm.
When he gets comfortable, he'll come out of the trailer. So they stand there about 10 minutes. Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
Then they just kind of peek.
Yeah. So then, no. The deer ain't coming out. And he ain't hearing no movement. So got to give him time. So he finally sneaks around the corner of the trailer, and now he's moving around the edge of the trailer to look inside to see.
Mm-hmm.
And a deer's laying in there. Something had spooked it on the way home.
Oh, shit.
It broke its neck.
Damn.
He lost $20,000 on the way home. You own it. It's yours. So you don't get nothing for that.
Right.
I mean, but now that is a super extreme, like, I can buy a breeder buck in my price range. I could buy a $20,000 breeder buck. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
But in my price range, I'm buying $2,500 breeder bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So their genetics are still good. They're still going to give me the 200-inch deer. And I keep using a 200-inch number. 200-inch is like, just say, the gold standard.
Okay.
You want to be somewhere around 200 inches at 2 years old, because you want to sell your deer at 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you could sell them at 1 year old or a year and a half old, you'd want to sell them then.
Yeah.
But it takes 2 years for their bodies to develop. Otherwise, if you could get a deer to grow a 200-inch rack
Mm-hmm.
at 1.5 year old, it would look like you put a 200-inch rack on a German Shepherd. The bodies haven't matured. They're still young. They're still kids. At 2 years old, they're mature. They're ready to rut. They're ready to start producing. They're there. It's all 2 years old. They're on top of their game. They're like a 25-year-old athlete. They're right there at the top of their game. And at 3, 4, and 5 years old, they're like the 35 and 40-year-old athlete. They're at the end of their game going downhill. So you try to get rid of them at 2 years old.
Gotcha.
So back to earlier, we were talking about my deer that got loose.
Yeah.
You know, I ended up killing. I was still new at this, so I didn't really know I didn't know I was supposed to report this to the Department of Agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a phone call from the Department of Agriculture from this lady, and she's like, "Hey, this is so-and-so, Department of Agriculture. Hey, how you doing? You know, what's going on?" You know, because sometimes they do a site check to make sure you have what you say you have and everything's tagged the way it's supposed to be tagged.
Right.
And she's like, "Hey, have you lost any animals or anything?" I'm like, "As a matter of fact, I am fighting with police and animal control and all that right now." And I told her the story. And she was like, "So what ones got loose?" And I told her, you know, I said, "Well, let me pull my book out." And I told her which ones got loose. And she was like, "Okay, can you send me all that information? I need it, because I got to let them know if I have births, deaths, all that, I have to convey that to Department of Agriculture." And so they were like, I was like, "Can I ask why you want to know? How'd you find out?"
Yeah.
Somebody, now, where are you from?
Champaign, like Champaign area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're a little further north, but okay, I live south of Elkville.
Uh-huh.
Somebody north of DuQuoin, which is 12 miles, 14 miles away, shot one of my deer that got loose, one of my does,
Wow.
and called DNR. They thought they were going to get some big prize. Maybe it was something,
Sure. That,
you know. So they're giving them the tag numbers and stuff, and it all traces back to me. I mean, all this stuff is registered
Sure.
with DNR.
Yeah.
You know,
Department of Natural Resources.
yes, Department of Natural Resources and Department of Agriculture. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all, they have access. Like the DNR can come and look at my animals. They can't necessarily do anything to me. They have to call Department of Agriculture because I am registered, licensed, and you have to buy the license and all that. But so basically, I've still got one doe running around. I don't know if she's dead or alive or what. That could be out there breeding. She could be breeding giants out there in the wild for people to kill, hunt.
Wow.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the best case
but
scenario.
yeah, this was just to show you how far they can run. I mean, they were hauling the mail. When last I seen them, when they went through the fence, they were still at a dead run half-mile away till they ran out of sight. I
Yeah.
could see dirt flopping up off the ground, off their hooves. They were running that fast and hard.
Wow.
They ended up 15 miles away. Somebody killed one of them.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you just don't know in the wild. I mean, yeah, these here deer could survive in the wild, but they still scared of predators and stuff like that. But hunting, I'm sure my doe probably came right up to him, because this was a doe that I had raised in the house and bottle fed,
Yeah.
and she followed me around like a puppy dog.
So she
I could
probably
let
just-
her out here outside the fence and walk around anywhere. And she would run off if something spooked her.
Uh-huh.
And I could call her and she would come back like a dog. So he probably shot her. She probably walked right up to
him, yeah.
Yeah, walked right up to his deer stand and was, you know, maybe smelled him or whatever. Oh, hey, this smell, human smell, they give me treats. Today they give her an arrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of sad, but that's, you know, that's how life goes.
Yeah.
So can't cry over spilt milk.
Yeah.
Buy another herd, spend another $30,000 and keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and what you described isn't too unlike, you know, like the guy that bought the breeder deer and then came home and found it dead. Like, I bought a new motorcycle once off the showroom floor, and as I was pulling into my fucking cul-de-sac, I hit this pothole, and I just see in my rear view mirror my new 0 miles on my motorcycle go on tilt to the side on my trailer, and it fell. And that, yeah, like you said, that's on me. I bought that fucking thing.
You tied it down. It's
yeah,
all
I
you.
tied it down. That's all me. So,
Yeah.
but I was curious, just to lighthearted stuff to close on. I was telling people, I saw this documentary on YouTube one time of these deer in this neighborhood that, like, I can't remember exactly where it was, and I don't even remember exactly the story. I really should have watched it again before I came here, but they were describing how the deer there knew that basically people were not going to fuck with them. And so it was kind of like the best example I can give you, and sorry folks that are listening if you don't quite understand this, I'll try my best to explain this, but it's like at Disney World. If you ever see a squirrel at Disney World, like, they're not fucking afraid of you like they are around here.
Right.
Like, you can literally approach a squirrel, and you could,
They'll
if
take
you're
a
real
nut
quick.
out of your hand.
Yeah. No, in fact, I have a video of myself, if I can remember to, I'll add it to when we're talking right now, of myself petting a squirrel at Disney World. It was eating a Snickers bar that was melted onto the ground.
Right.
And I'm petting the squirrel. And so my point is that in this documentary, it was showing how the deer at least seemed smart enough to know that humans in that area were not going to fuck with them. And so they really would come up and push the limits. And so what these people tried to do was they would put things out in their yard that looked like maybe like a human standing out. And the deer would kind of send one to approach it to make sure like it was all good. And then as soon as they kind of got the indication that it was all good, then they'd all approach, right? So I guess my question that I'm leading up to is, I was talking about that once, and I said, deer are not dumb. They're not maybe so smart either. And they're like, no, Cole, deer are dumb. From your perspective, you've raised some deer over the years. Like, I mean, obviously animals are all kind of innocent and dumb, but like, are they smart?
We are.
Yeah, we're
we are
fucking dumb.
We think we're the smartest things on the planet, humans.
Yeah.
And we still do stupid shit.
Yeah.
Okay? Deer are smart and dumb at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They are smart that they know when I come out of the house, hey, we need to run to the fence because maybe he's got treats for us today.
Yeah.
Okay? They are dumb in the sense that, hey, he walked out of the house, we better run. You just never know. They are intelligent. They're wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
So you got two kinds of animals, predators and prey. And they are prey animals.
Yeah.
So they are smart enough to
Elude.
to do what it takes to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, when I say they're dumb, like, hey, I'm out here every day. I don't hurt you. I feed you. But you still run from me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Right.
You're an idiot. You know?
Right.
But they're smart enough to turn around and come back when nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
So deer are intelligent. It's just like raccoons. You watch videos of those. They come up to people's houses.
Yeah.
And they realize, hey, they leave out cat food, and now you're sitting here at the back door. This don't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
This raccoon or deer didn't come up one day in your yard and say, oh, come on out and pet me. It's okay.
Yeah.
It probably took 6 months, a year, maybe 2 years
Yeah.
for them to build this trust.
Yeah.
Now, once you build a trust, just say with a doe or a buck, and then she has babies, she brings those back next year. She's got that trust with you. They see, oh, mom says it's okay, so it must be all right. So we go up there. Now you just you get more and more showing more trust. And that's why it's always good to have, like in my herd, super friendly deer. Like this one here. He'll stay here for a long time before anything ever happens to him. Mm-hmm. It's good to have one or two that are friendly.
Kind of teach the others.
Teach the other ones, hey, he's not a bad guy. He's always got treats. Come up and see us.
Yeah.
So, yes, deer are smart. And I shouldn't say they're smart and stupid. They are smart. They can do stupid things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, deer are smart animals. You figure they got to forage for all their food. Hell, we go to Kroger, Walmart, Aldi's. pick up our groceries. If half the people in the world had to fend for their own,
Oh, dude.
a lot of people would be starving. A lot of chaos would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they're pretty smart, resourceful.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I know about deer that maybe folks that are listening don't know is that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, maybe it's just some fact I read on the internet that's wrong, right? Because that can happen. If you shine a light on deer, in other words, you're driving down the street and you got headlights on them, something about the lights, it just locks them up, like they just freeze.
that's why, if you ever hear people talking about poachers, they shooting deer at night with spotlights.
Oh.
That's why. They drive out there. The deer, the reason they lock up is they're going to lock up for so long, and then they're going to take off running. Basically, what they're doing is they're not really locked up as they can't move, is they're locked up, frozen, solid, not moving. They don't see me. It's a defense mechanism.
Oh.
Hey, I'm not moving. I'm not blinking. I'm frozen. They don't know I'm here. They can't see you because the light's in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they're blinded. But they're frozen because they don't know if you're a predator and coming to eat them.
Yeah.
So they want to just freeze like, hey, you don't know I'm here. You can't see me. I'm invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. And if you make enough noise or move around enough, I don't care how long you shine that light in their eyes,
They're going to go.
they're going to go. But that's why a lot of deer get ran over on the highway, is because they're trying to cross. Maybe they've walked halfway out in the road, and you start coming down the highway. They hear something. They hear your car coming. They hear the whine of your tires on the road, and then your headlights get them locked up. And they're like, do I need to go? Do I need to stay? No, they can't see me. I'm sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't see me. Oh, shit, it's time to go. It's too late. I done run you over, you know,
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
55 mile an hour. So, you know, just things like that. But spotlighting any animal will do the same thing. They will all lock up. First off, they want to freeze. You can't, to find out if you can see them,
Yeah.
and to find out if you're, you know, going to come get them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times they're going to go the opposite direction of the light,
Yeah.
because, you know, you're coming to get me if I don't know what you are, and you're behind that big bright shiny thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I come out here, I get off at 4 o'clock in the morning and it's dark out. I come out here with a headlamp on.
Could you say that again?
I come out here with a headlamp on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got that headlamp right on top of my head, and my deer are all standing there gazing at me, and I can walk towards them, and I can get all my animals I can get within arm's length of them. And with the headlamp, I can reach out and almost touch their face before they see my hand. They don't know what I am, so they automatically turn and run, which I try not to do. I try to tilt my headlight down so they can see my silhouette, so I can still see where I'm going and don't spook them. But yes, they will lock up until they determine what is, you know, what is going on, what they're doing, whether they need to run or stay.
Yeah. Another topic that I meant to bring up earlier that I think is important, because you and I know it, because I was raised with people that hunt, and it sounds like you grew up hunting and stuff, and we addressed it in a few different ways, but I think it's good to say it clearly. Like, hunting can be for sport, but a lot of times, especially in the case of deer and elk, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a hunter, I just know hunters.
Right.
But in the case of like deer and elk, it's a conservationist effort. It's not just cold-blooded murder.
Right.
It's actually like I even think traffic fatalities are factored into why we encourage this, right? Because deer can go fucking crazy during a rut.
Yeah, Mother Nature, the like we said earlier, the strong survive.
Yeah.
Okay. In wild, if we do not harvest, hunt, kill, no, I'm not trying to beat around the bush. If we not eliminate some of these animals, they're going to overpopulate.
Right.
Then you're going to get diseases. Now, right now, they have diseases that only they get. But it's like everything else, like the monkeys in Africa. You know, they have diseases that transmit to humans. We may be 1,000 generations away from that if we didn't kill any deer. I don't know. That's not what I am. But if you do not thin the herd, you will overpopulate. They will breed themselves out of existence, and then they're going to start dying from diseases and things like that. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you're fine. Don't eat the animals. But I'm a meat eater.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough about, I buy a cow from a farmer. He raises it just like I raise my deer. And I buy a cow and put it in my freezer and eat it. I know where that meat came from. I know what kind of hormones he fed them or didn't feed them. When you go to the grocery store and buy meat, all that food, everything come out of the grocery store was alive and walking at some point in its life. So I eliminated 5 steps and I went straight to the woods and killed my dinner and ate it. So if you're not a hunter or you think it's wrong, how are you going to feel when they get so populated that they come and start eating your garden and you can't get vegetables out of your garden? Oh, well, I'll put a fence around it. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you watch some of these videos, I've seen deer dragging chain link fences in their antlers.
Wow.
Or do you know what chicken wire is? It's, you know, small wire to keep the chickens in, keep the raccoons out. Okay. But a lot of people put chicken wire around their gardens to keep the deer out. I've seen chicken wire wrapped up in antlers before. These deer, if they get hungry enough and there's not a food source, it's going to be hard to keep them away from your food, your vegetables. So eventually they're going to come eat your stuff. If you don't thin the herd, they're going to eat your stuff. Now, I have a little different outlook on hunting. Nuisance animals like coyotes and stuff like that I'm not saying kill them all, because we need those animals because they keep the weak down.
The whole ecosystem thing.
They keep it in the ecosystem. But I am for hunting. I hunt for meat. I hunt to eat. I don't hunt for sport. Don't get me wrong. I have a 14-pointer hanging on my wall that I shot because it was the first thing that walked past me that day.
Yeah.
Okay. I am an opportune hunter. The first thing that walks past me, I shoot. I do not hunt for trophies. I will shoot a trophy. Don't get me wrong. I get caught up in the moment just like everybody else, but I'm hunting for dinner. And if you don't thin the herd, next thing you know, you're eating diseased meat. You know, you're killing an animal that's sick, and now you're eating it. Now you've made yourself sick, or you've made your family sick, or whoever's eating it. So, you know, I ramble on, man. Sorry about that. But
no, dude. This is it's perfect. I would add, though, that like another, not only the sick meat, but like I said, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I think that people found that when hunting, like kind of, maybe there was a time period, I don't know, I read something online where it was like there was a time period where maybe people weren't hunting as much and they actually saw like car accidents increase, deer-related car accidents increase because the mating was just out of control.
Okay, I was born 6 miles from where we're at right now. I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
When I grew up and started deer hunting, I started deer hunting. My first deer hunt, I was 15 years old. You had to put in for a tag. You had to actually mail IDNR, Illinois Department of Conservation, a paper tag. You had to fill out a piece of paper, mail it into them with a check for $15, or it might have been 30 back then. I don't remember. I think it was 15, and apply for a tag. And you might get one every 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's how low the deer population was. They only allowed a certain amount of deer to be harvested. Okay? Now, you don't even talk to IDNR about a deer tag. You go to Walmart and buy them over the counter. Now, I'm not up on all the laws, but right now, the way I understand it, you can harvest 2 bucks a year. And it may have changed.
Okay.
But you can harvest 2 antlered animals a year. And then, after that, you can kill all the does that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back to when I was 16, I put in for an either sex or antlerless only, which means I could either get a tag to kill a buck or a doe, or if they'd already give out all the buck tags, I could only kill a doe.
Yeah.
So it went to, you get to kill one animal every 3 years to kill as many as you can, because accidents are up, car accidents are up, because the animal herd is up. So anybody that thinks conservation is, or that, hunting is wrong, okay, we have conservationed ourselves into an overpopulation of whitetail.
Yeah.
Okay. They're letting us kill them at whatever rate we can kill them at.
See, and that's what I think is the most convincing argument for it, is that it's people, conservationists that are generally protecting the environment. They are saying this is what needs to happen.
Yes.
Because it's like you have to keep it in check somehow. And we don't have, like you said earlier, the prey and predator thing. We don't really have that, especially here in Illinois, as much anymore. Like every once in a while you'll hear about a big cat around here.
Yeah.
But there's not really anything to keep these populations in check. You know?
Yes. I have coyotes.
Yeah.
I hear them howling at night.
Sure.
Out here around my property. I have killed 2 coyotes that were up digging at my fence. If they don't mess with my herd, I leave them because they're a natural predator
Right.
for our wild deer population.
Mm-hmm.
And would you rather a 5-year-old buck or 7-year-old animal, doe, buck, whatever, whose teeth are rotted out of its head, it's wore out its teeth, it's got a finite life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather let it run around here until it died of starvation? Or would you rather a coyote killed it and ate it? See, that's my thing. It's natural order of life.
Right.
Something has to happen. Either they're going to starve to death because they can't eat, or they get weak enough that a prey animal can take them down and eat them. So the population has got that widespread. Back to the hunting deal. Whenever I killed a deer, I had to take it to a check station.
Mm-hmm.
They took a part of my deer tag. A part of my deer tag was already on my deer, because if you showed up without that tag on that deer, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you're transporting it illegally. So I got a tag on my deer. I give them a tag, and then they check my animal, and they put another tag on it. That's how it was when I started hunting at 16. I am 53, going to be 54 here in a couple months. Now, I kill a deer. I go to Walmart, I buy a tag, I kill a deer. I call a phone number on the back of the tag and said, I killed this deer. Take these measurements. This is what I killed.
And they just take you on that.
They take it on honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Because the population has gotten so overwhelming that if we don't thin this herd out, you know, basically you're going to start having more car wrecks.
Yeah. Another example that people may not be familiar with just quickly is, you know, I heard in areas where they tried to really start killing possum that Lyme disease went up because possum naturally hunt ticks.
They eat them.
Or eat ticks.
Yeah.
And yeah, so. Well, Joe, we've touched on a lot of bases today, and I want to respect your time. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Anytime, brother.
Anything you wanted to close with that we didn't necessarily talk about today?
No, hey, we were all over the map.
Yeah,
And
I had a lot of fun with you, man.
If you have anybody has any comments or questions, we'll you bring them along next time, and we'll try to sit down and answer any questions they got next trip around. But yeah, I'm good, brother.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you. I hope you had as much fun as I did today.
Hey, this is my first podcast ever.
Cool.
So I had a good time, and we'll definitely do it again.
Sweet. Cool. Well, folks, I hope you found as much value in this conversation as I did. We'll see you on the next episode of The Cole Memo. Take care.